G'day everyone. In this episode we are going to be discussing this 15,000 kilometre service on the Hyundai Kona electric. We're going to do a little bit of a breakdown of what happens and discuss whether it's worth it. Let's check it out. Alrighty, so this isn't going to be a long video, but I do want to go through these items because I think it's worthwhile just having a bit of a review. But just quickly, the model for manufacturers like Hyundai has always been that they make a little bit of profit on the car, then they send you over to the Ming Mole who gets you to buy tinting, fabric protection, paint protection, and they make a fair chunk of profit out of that. And then once you've left the dealership, you come back and service your car and they make a bit of money out of that as well. But when it comes to electric cars, obviously there isn't that much servicing to be done. So what I want to do is have a quick rundown through this. One other point I want to make is that I'm only at 6 months. So I got my car in July, it's now February, and I already had the 1500 kilometre checkup, and that was in August, so that didn't take very long, but essentially 6 months since it was last looked at. You wouldn't expect to find any issues anyway. But the cost for the 15,000 kilometre service is $165, and when I went into the service department, they didn't have my car actually recorded as an electric car, so they tried to tell me it was $259. I said no, it's $165, and that's what I was told on the phone. So yeah, just make sure that's a major point, I guess, when you are looking at getting your Kona serviced, that you check out the prices maybe before you go in there. She quickly checked the computer, fixed it up, and it was $165. But initially I actually thought that it was worthwhile because you're getting a year of roadside assistance, and that's valued at $100. On my previous ICE car, I was paying for RACQ roadside assist, and that was like $105. So yeah, that's pretty close. But when you factor in that I'm only at the 6 month mark, this is written on the form as complimentary, but I mean it's going to have to factor in there into the 165. So next is the map updates. Well, it says that their value is $150. They're free, and I can tell you that I had a look at the actual numbers of the maps before and after, and there is no actual difference in the numbers, so they didn't update the maps. So that's a bit strange, because I know for a fact the navigation on the Kona is pretty horrendous. The navigation that's used, there's sets of traffic lights where there's roundabouts, and there's little turns off the highway to get you onto a side service road, but they don't exist. So I've had a couple of problems with that, but I just use Android Auto now, so it's not really that much of an issue. But if you're going to write on the service sheet that you're doing something, then perhaps it'd be nice to be done. Complimentary vehicle wash, $35. Okay, well, I try and keep my car pretty clean anyway, but I won't say no to someone else washing it. They carried out a recall. Now, I didn't know there was a recall. You would, in some respects, expect that they would send out an email, or maybe through the AutoLink app that all Hyundai EVs have, as far as I'm aware. You know, then just take it in and get that done. But they couldn't actually tell me what was fixed on it. It was something to do with the audio software update. I've since gone looking online for what the recall is for and can't find any information there. So on top of these couple of things, let's have a quick rundown. We got they carried out a complete of the GDS system, the Global Diagnostics system. All right, check the instrument cluster and warning lights. Okay, well, let's say you turn the car on, all the warning lights come up. You turn the lights on. We're only looking at 2 minutes, so you know that's nothing major. Check the lights, wiper, washers, horn, and electrical system. You know that's no time at all. Inspected the evaporator pollen filter. Well, that's underneath there, underneath the dash or behind the dash. I'd be surprised if they actually did check that. They inspected the seat belts. I mean, come on, this car is 6 months old. Like, seat belts don't really deteriorate that quickly. Even if you're doing 100,000 kilometers in a year, the seat belts don't really show any sign of wear that quickly. Inspected SRS airbag and pretensioner, checked and lubricated hood latch, safety latch, and hinges. Well, that's very interesting because there's absolutely no sign of any lubrication, and I'm not sure that was carried out. They checked the air conditioning system was in operation. Well, it was working fine when I drove there, and I mean, it was probably turned on when they turned the car on, so there's a tick for that box. They checked the battery, electrolyte cleanliness and security, and once again, this is only 6 months old, this car. You wouldn't expect that to be playing up. It's got those nice protective covers, so there's nothing really to worry about there. Inspected the brake fluid. Well, it's an electric car. We barely use the brakes, and if you have a look at this brake fluid, it is pristine, almost unused. So, you know, not too much inspection required there. Checked the condition of the tyres and pressures. They rotated the wheels as per the manufacturer's recommended sequence. They checked the brake pads, calipers, discs, checked the brake lines and hoses, inspected the steering gear, linkage and boots, tightness of the chassis and body bolts and nuts, inspected front suspension and ball joints. All right, well, I mean, my mechanic on my ICE car was doing that as well, and, you know, to be honest, all of that stuff is less than 10 minutes, isn't it, really? So it was always obvious that, you know, getting a service done on an electric car was mostly inspection, but is $165 worth it? Well, on reflection, I would have to say it's not really worth it, because in the end, I don't think it's on here, but I actually got the firmware and the software updated. So that was decent. And I went from version 101 to 105. So I'm not, once again, I can't find any information as to what that is for. But I'll keep looking and let you know if I find anything. I do know that I'm now locked out of engineering mode that I've previously done a video on. It's now password protected, so another challenge for me to find that password. But all in all, $165. You rotated my tyres. You said you did a whole lot of inspection, and I can see you didn't do some of it. So that really makes me query if you did, you know, any of it. And you washed my car. So $165. You know, I have the ability to rotate my own tyres at home, and I already washed my car. So other than the firmware and software updates and map update that, well, didn't get done, I don't know if it's not worth it. So we'll see what happens at the 30,000 kilometre mark. We'll maybe ask some questions then about what they actually do, considering it'll only be probably another 6 months. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.